Now that we've explored what the terms relation and curve mean in the context of the XY plane, let's go ahead and start building out our relation component for our app. We'll start by creating a new file here in our source directory, and like you can probably guess, we're going to call this relation.view. And let's just go ahead and run our shortcut for creating a view component. And like normal, call this relation container, and the name should be relation. Let's get rid of the data for now. Now if we go back to our app component, let's go ahead and first of all put our relation in place, and let's say we need to import relation from relation.view. And we'll need to add relation to our components list. And this hasn't really done anything, but let's head over to our browser and make sure if we refresh that everything's working just fine and that we haven't broken anything. And we have our relation component here, so great, that looks like everything's working just fine. And the way that we want to work with our relation component is we want to say points equals an array. And for starters, what we're going to do is just have each point truly be an ordered pair like we were doing on paper the last episode. So we're going to say something like 0, 1, and that will be 1 point. And let's say -1, 2, and that should be our other point. And now let's head back over to our relation component, and let's tell it, first of all, to expect some props, and that one of those props should be called points. And the type of points is going to be an array. And for the default, one thing with Vue.js is that when you have an array or object prop type, you need to have a function that returns your default value. So we're just going to say that the default should be an array here, and we'll make that an empty array. And at this point, if we head back over to our browser, we should see in our relation component that we have a prop here, and sure enough, we have our point 0, 1 and our other point -1, 2. Great, so now what we need to do is have our relation component here actually go through those points and display those. So we're going to say we have a template element, and this is a way in Vue.js that you can just put some logic around a set of elements without needing something like a div to wrap it in. And we're going to say v4 point in points. So that's going to refer back to our points prop. And all we're going to do here is say for each point in points, I need a new point component, and its x is going to be given by the first item in the point, and the y is going to be given by the second item in the point array. Okay, so let's save this and go back over to our browser. And we don't have any points there. Let's see if we refresh, still nothing. So let's look in our console and see, do we have errors? Yes, unknown custom element point. So what that means is we forgot to actually import our point component from the appropriate file here. And then we're also going to need to go ahead and tell it to expect the point component, and hopefully that fixed it. And there we go, there's our 2 points. We have 0, 1 and -1, 2. Awesome. So notice how we have our point here at the origin that's still going to be controlled by this little input. And then we have our relation, which is essentially an array of hard-coded points. So to distinguish between the hard-coded points and the data-binded point here, let's see if we can make the relation have a color while this point here can stay black. So how might that need to work? Well, if we go into our app component here, we might want to have another prop that says color equals, and let's just do something like orange. And we actually can leave off the colon there because we want the literal string orange to be passed in Whereas if we had the colon, that would look for a variable called orange as a JavaScript variable. So we just want to pass the literal string there. And if we head back into our relation component, we're going to tell it to look for a prop called color. And that should be type string default. Let's just use black as the default. And we're going to assume that for a relation, every point is going to have the same color within that relation. So we're going to pass a prop to our point, which we'll also need to create. And we're just going to say that the color should be the value of the color prop. Now here I am using a colon because I want to pass in the variable color, which is referring to my prop here, as opposed to passing in a literal string color. So going back into my point component here, I can just say that I want a prop called color. And just like we had with the relation, we're going to use a type of string and a default of 0, 0, 0 or black. And if you recall previously, we had black points because our point container had a background color of black. So let's go ahead and remove that and go into our binded style here. And let's say that the background color should be the value of the prop color. So let's save that and head back to the browser and see. Cool, so we have our orange points for the relation, and the black point that has data binding is not part of the relation, so it has the default color black. Now if we wanted, we could change that binded points color. Let's see if we can do that. We just want to say that this particular individual point should have a color of red. So again, this is the literal string red because I'm not using a colon here. And cool, so we have one red point and two orange points. And just to round things off, let's duplicate this line. Let's make another relation and say we should have the point 1, -3, and maybe 0, -2. And let's say that the color of this one should be purple. Save that, head over to the browser, and there we go. So we've got configurable colors here so that we can have many points within the same relation who all share the same colors. And we can also mix those in with our active points like this one that have data binding. So little by little, we're getting closer to being able to actually draw curves in the plane. Next, what we want to do is create our curve component and have this somehow be a combination of a relation with an active point so that I can move my active point around, and every time I do move it, it will drop another point of that same color in the plane and remember that point even after we have the active point moving away.